Yeah. Well, we've
Well, at
been
least we
talking
got some
about
NBA playoffs mixed in, right?
yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
definitely. Definitely. Well, you know what? Let's actually start off with that because our Sixers last night, holy shit, pulled out a 1 point win. It was a game where, look, this was the reason that myself and I'm sure a lot of Sixers fans were worried. Sean is actually a huge Jimmy Butler fan. He, like many of us, are big Sixers fans that were so pissed when he left the building. Obviously, we all hate Tobias Harris, but look, this is what the Heat do. Interested to get your guys' take on it because I came into it saying I'm more worried about this one game against the Heat than I am a 7 game series against the Knicks. And I stand by that still. I think the Sixers will handle the Knicks in 5 or 6 games, truthfully. But man, there's something to Heat culture. And when they get this one game, balls to the wall, I mean, it looked like a sketchy first half.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game was really all about momentum. I'm pretty sure at one point they did the Chick-fil-A promo or something where a guy misses 2 free throws, and then the Sixers went on like a 56-40 run for the second half, and really took things alone. I do love Jimmy Butler. It was hard to really see him leave the Sixers. They chose
Mm-hmm.
Tobias Harris and Al Horford over him. Of all guys, you can't forget about Al Horford because he was a trader with the Celtics, that inside man. But I think you're right, Liam. I think that the Heat, they play to like another level in the playoffs, especially, and Jimmy Butler brings that attitude, and they're definitely a tough matchup for the Sixers, especially. I think they
Mm-hmm.
split the series 2-2 this year, and then in the play-in game, the Sixers win just by a bucket, and Jimmy Butler is hurt, and it's really unfortunate because I was sort of rooting for both teams last night, and then hoping that the Heat at this point would win the next game and be able to make the playoffs. But I'm not sure if that's going to be able to really happen with a injured Jimmy Butler at this point.
It's funny, Liam, that you bring up being worried about this one game because Miami in the playoffs, it's gonna be electric, right? That's just Miami. That's just who Miami is in
Oh
the
yeah,
playoffs.
always.
But in my opinion, you're 100% right. With this one game is more worrisome than what you're about to experience with New York. But this
Mm-hmm.
series with New York, I mean, I know they're down. They're down one guy who's very
Randall.
important.
Yeah, Julius
Randall, right?
Randall.
Julius Randle, yeah.
Julius Randle. Having him gone is a huge miss for the Knicks. That where it almost makes me feel bad for Knicks fans to be like, we fucking get here and look what happens to us, right? Like this is that Knicks curse, right? But no matter what, this is a
Yeah.
fucking series. This is a series, bro. Like this is going to be a dogfight. You're going in. You have a team who has got kind of getting to that point of like some older players, and you have the Knicks who are like, yo, man, we got some Philly guys on the team, we have some Nova guys on the team who has that dog
Yep.
in them, who knows what championship winning is, right? Where he wants to compete. I mean, anytime you watch the
Mm-hmm.
Knicks all year, like I just said, like I was at a hookah lounge and watched the Knicks versus the Lakers, and I was like, holy fuck, yo, the Knicks can ball. They didn't pull out the win, but they can ball, bro. These are some guys that can go out there and tough. I wouldn't say, Liam, that they. What did you say it in 4, 5, or 6?
Yeah.
That's kind of early in my. I see it going 6, 7 in my opinion because it's just going to be a dogfight. That's all it is to me.
Yeah.
And
And
it beats still
I
fat
I
as fuck.
totally
Let's be honest.
all right, well, relax. I agree with what you said about the Knicks, right? Like it's not going to be an easy series win. I think it'll be a
No.
series win. And when you watch basketball, it's 2 different games. Regular season basketball and playoff basketball, not even close. They're not
Jeez.
comparable.
Yeah.
So every year you get these overachieving teams, and then you get these teams that kind of now I'm not putting the Sixers like, oh, they made the finals, they made the Eastern Conference Finals, they're rampant for the playoffs, right? But you kind of see this like with the Lakers, right? When they sit LeBron and AD for these games, they'll play in the play-in and then they'll get rolling. You got teams like the Timberwolves that, are going all 82 games they're trying to win, every single one of them. And the Knicks are kind of like that. And the Knicks are a tough team, but I think it's over talent for the Sixers. And one of the biggest reasons why I had confidence in the Sixers, starting from the offseason to the regular season to now, is for the past 5, 6 years, we've had Brett Brown and Doc Rivers as head coach. We were being outcoached in every playoff series that we played in. Now you look at it, you played the only coach, in my opinion, that's better than Nick Nurse last night in Eric Spoelstra. You have the better coach than Tom Thibodeau. You have the better coach than Doc Rivers, who you'll probably see in the next round. the path is there for the Eastern Conference Finals. So really, when it boils down to this, the Knicks are going to win. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they come out game 1 and win by like 8. I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to like make a statement. But I think the talent is far better on the Sixers, and you have a better coach that in a 7-game series like this, it's going to take control.
I hear you. I agree. Who now? Where's
Yeah,
the
I mean,
predictions? Like if let's just like who are you seeing to come out next? Like let's just say not to look past the Knicks, but after the Knicks, who's next? Who's a possibility?
So it would be the winner of the Bucks Pacers. So you wouldn't have to see Boston in theory until the Eastern Conference Finals if you got there.
Yeah, but you want to see the Bucks thereafter?
I 1000%. I wanted to see the Bucks first round. Giannis is banged up, and I watched what Doc Rivers does in a playoff series firsthand for the past 3 years. He's fucking dog shit.
I forgot.
Yeah, I did forget about Doc.
I forgot about Doc.
I mean, I wanted them first round.
But
Easy.
Pat Bev back in Philly. Fuck
Pat
Philly.
Bev. We have Kyle Lowry. Fuck Pat Bev.
Oh, you're tweaking, bro. Don't do my boy like that, bro. You're wildin'. Pat Bev's a G, bro.
He is a G, but I'm not worried about them at all. Look, I've been saying for years that the Sixers match up well with the Bucks. I thought back in the Kawhi shot year that the Sixers would have beaten the Bucks and then gotten into the finals. I truly believe that. They've always matched up well with them, and now this Giannis thing is very weird. I've heard somebody say it's kind of like, remember KD's injury when he had the calf strain and then he popped his calf in the finals against the Raptors when he was on the Warriors. Like, I think it's similar to that. So it's one wrong step and he's done, and then they're done. So I'm not worried about them at all. I'm not worried. Like I said, I'm not worried about the Knicks or the Bucks. I was more worried about the Heat beating them last night because you would not beat Boston in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Celtics are definitely the powerhouse in the East right now, and then the West is looking real competitive. But I mean, I agree with what you were saying, Liam. Like, coaching can go a long way in basketball, and last night Nick Nurse actually helped the Sixers win that game, where Doc Rivers isn't going to win that game last year for them. Like,
no,
they would definitely be playing again tomorrow night, and it just be on the fringe of being on the fringe of elimination. So it's nice to have a competent coach. And, I think for the Sixers, the biggest issue that they might come across is really team chemistry, with the fact that, Joel Embiid just came back from the injury and he hasn't really had that many reps with Kyle Lowry and Buddy Buckets. So, I love what they're doing. And Batum was an unsung hero last night. Might be the best Frenchman in the league, but I don't know if that's sustainable.
Definitely
is.
So what I'm hearing is that it's funny to hear that Boston-Philly rivalry, right? Philly's been sounding pussy and scared of Boston for like a couple years now. Is this the year they can actually get through Boston? It's always been, we know we have to go through Boston. Well,
here's my thing, Malik, because you have to. Yeah, Emily, you have to pick a side, all right? Because you can't call us pussy and trying to duck the smoke, and then also saying we're delusional when we're saying we're going to beat everybody, right? So you got to first pick a side. You want us to be realistic Philly fans, or do you want the delusional ones? Because if I come out here and say, oh, yeah, we're fucking sweeping the Knicks, we're fucking sweeping the Bucks, and we're beating Boston in 5, we're in the title, you'd be like, oh, well, here goes Philly fans again. They just think they win one game. I mean, Boston's been the best team in the league literally since day one. I don't know if the Sixers will be able to beat them. Of course, as a fan, I'm not going to be like, no, we're fucked. But, I mean, again, you look at the difference in the first round between playing the Knicks and playing the Celtics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge deal. That's a really huge deal.
But they don't have no rings to show for it.
No, they don't, but neither do we.
I'm just saying, don't bend the knee to Boston. I'm not going to be the one to always bend the knee to a team and be like, we got to get through. Just don't. That's all right. It's just not. It's not Philly of you to ever be afraid of a team. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Not even just not afraid. I think it's just so like a please, dear God, get past the second round. And if you're gonna have to see Boston eventually, I'd rather see them in the Eastern Conference Finals because at least you fucking got there than see them in the first round where it's like, here we go again.
You have been saying that, right? Like, no, you haven't been saying that. I'm sorry. I'm trying to equate that to like, I've been the guy that said I needed my Cowboys to get to the NFC Championship. What have you been saying? Like, you're saying, get me to the big game. Like, get past Boston, you win a chip. Is that? I feel like that's what you've been saying for the last couple of years. Get past Boston, it's ours.
For the last couple of years, yes. I think we said it last year. For sure. When they played it, I said that the winner will get there. I was wrong because Jimmy Buckets walked into Boston and beat them. But I feel like this year's a little bit different. And what I mean by that is in the previous couple of years, the Sixers were this 2, 3, 4 seed. They were higher seed expected to go the distance. And when they didn't, it was a huge disappointment. Now you look at, they got the 7th seed. Embiid's not healthy. He's clearly not in basketball shape yet totally. And this was really a gap year. Malik, you remember, go back to October, and Sean, you know this damn well, James Harden was still on the roster. Like, that was this year. So going into the season with all that James Harden drama, with the Tobias Harris ridiculous contract expiring at the end of this year, this was more looked at as a gap year. You don't want to waste a year of Joel Embiid, but you also kind of understood, are we going to be fully able to compete for a title? I don't know if you could really say that. So I think this is more of a year of, hey, it's less pressure. It's the deepest team I think Embiid's had since the Jimmy Butler year. You have the best coach by far that Embiid's ever had. Go out and do it. And I really think that this is the clearest path that they've had since they probably lost to the Hawks in that Game 7 a few years ago.
I agree. I hear you. I'm a Sixers fan, but again, I gotta still go at Philly. I have to go at Philly at some point,
Yes, I dig it. Well, look, man, we'll see. I think Embiid and Maxey, they have to play better regardless in order to beat the Knicks. We know that. That's why they pay him the big money. And speaking of big money, little transition. The Eagles extended their wide receiver 1B. Devontae Smith got a 3-year extension for $75 million. 3-year extension on top of what he had already. So
You're
he'll be here until
Sean. I don't know if you just heard this. He said wide receiver B. I thought last year. No, we solidified last year that he is wide receiver 1A. I don't want to hear B out of anyone's fucking mouth.
You're right.
I mean, AJ Brown had 6 games with 125 yards in a row. So I don't know. It's definitely a comparable
nice
1-2.
Oh my!
And they complement each other so well.
Oh my God!
They do, and I love it. But the reason I bring this up, and the reason why Malik's probably hating, and Sean, I want to get your input on this first. This is always what Howie Roseman seems to do. He's always a year early when he extends his guys. He wants to try to set the market. He doesn't want to be the person or the team that has the market set themselves. So when you look at these other wide receivers like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson coming up, whatever his name is down in Dallas that probably doesn't want to be there. Sean, what does this do now? Devontae Smith's contract to the wide receiver market and some gigantic names that are looking for that big money.
Yeah, I mean, I think you set I think you set the stage perfectly there with Howie trying to get ahead of things. He spent this offseason already getting Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson to long-term deals, and now adding Devontae Smith. It looks like they're going to keep that offense together for the foreseeable future. And like you said, it's nice to have that 1-2 punch on the outside with AJ Brown and Smitty. They both are almost that number one receiver. But it's huge that Howie gets ahead of these things, because Justin Jefferson's on the market. He wants a big deal. He's probably going to reset the market. Jamar Chase is also there, and they're probably going to compete for that number one spot, or maybe just try to get that $1 extra. And then, like you said, CeeDee Lamb still hasn't gotten locked up. It looks like the Cowboys just have too much money locked in with Dak Prescott that they don't really have flexibility. And then, there's still talks about other wide receivers like T. Higgins and Brandon Ayuk. So some of these names may be moved either on draft day or for all we know, maybe get these extensions in the next few weeks. But it's nice as an Eagles fan to get ahead of those things and get your guys long term. But Malik, what do you think? What's happening with CeeDee Lamb these days and talks in Dallas? Can you give us an update or?
Shit, I just know training camp's begun, OTA's begun. These guys don't show up, right? Hey, this is what we have seen from every big guy who's like, I'd rather hold out so I don't have to go to OTAs. I mean, Micah's not there. It's just something they do. They're like, why go to OTAs? Why? I mean, you literally just heard Aaron Donald say that. He's like, I love my contract years because I would just hold out so I can miss training camp and then show up when it's time to play ball, right? And at the end of the day, at a wide receiver position, I don't know how much training you fucking need that you can't do on the beach. And that's fine with me. He can sit out, whatever. But when that happened, right away, telling Liam, I hit both of them. No matter what you see on the dick sucking that goes on, how smart Howard Roseman is, the Eagles bring back. No shit, he was coming back, right? It is a lot of money. In my eyes, I was like, fuck, that's a lot of money because what you're seeing on the market now, you're seeing that like wide receivers are top paid guys now. And I was like, this isn't the money that's going around. I mean, you're seeing running backs signed for $5 million. Like for you know what I mean? You see them sign for nothing, for nickels. So to see that, it was like amazing. 100%, that's smart to get right in front of it. Knowing right away that once I saw that, I sent Liam and told him, I said he just fucked
right away.
He just fucked us right away. Like, CD Lamb, we're fucked now with CD because CD is going to play the prima donna. He wants to be I play for the Dallas Cowboys, right? I deserve to be the top paid wide receiver. These are his words, I'm sure.
He wears number 88.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
these are his words, not mine. Mine is, there's a difference. Smitty he's played in the Super Bowl game. He's had successful teams. You haven't helped your team yet get to that pivotal moment. You've choked in the playoffs. You've gone ghost. Smitty has stepped up while A.J. Brown took a seat back against him. He deserves that money. In my opinion, they both do, right? But at the end of the day, it's like he has to get paid some way. I don't know what that's going to look like. I know it's going to come. Let's just slash Dak Prescott's salary, and we'll get into like the draft and what this looks like for the Cowboys. But all I see is there's going to be a huge move that's going to happen. That's going to surprise all of us of someone leaving that should be still there, but because we locked in Dak Prescott, it's going to fuck us all up. It's going to fuck us over to where I see for another 2 or 3 years, we're in a slump because of this right here, because of where the market is now. Unless guys say, you know what, guys, like Jalen Hurts did, all these guys, let's buy in and win. Let's fuck the money. Let's buy in and win. That's the time. I mean, Tom Brady's able to do that later in his career, but he did that many times in his career. Took pay cuts, did whatever he had to do to get guys around him. Let's see if Dak is that player to cut his own salary. Yo, it's time to fucking win. Let's see what we can do. Besides that, I see us as we're screwed.
Yeah, and you know what, Malik, that's a good point because these Eagles players are still getting paid, right? Like, we've seen the money that's going to back, like they're backing up the truck. They're going all in for the next 4 or 5 years. I don't know what the cap's going to look like. I keep thinking in the back of my head, like they're going to be fucked
just
in 5-6 years because it's just like it's fake money. Yeah, exactly. But I kind of looked at this Devontae Smith contract and how it broke down. He's not making more than I think $12 million for the next 3 years. Like he's like, fine, I don't need the money right away. Kind of like you said, Malik. I want to win. I want to be here. I want to be with my boy AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, and this offense. So that's true. And again, you talk about these voluntary OTAs that are going on right now. I'm pretty sure everybody was there for the Eagles. I don't know if AJ Brown was, but Smitty was there. Jalen Hurts was there. So that is a big difference too. But Malik, you kind of brought up.
What are we talking about here?
Look,
you're
either no, it's nice to see Saquon in an Eagles jersey.
Oh, it's so nice. I can't. It is very nice. Right now. And look, Malik,
remember this clip. Do not let this shit bite you in the fucking. I'm just telling you right now. Do not let this bite you in the ass. That's it.
And I'm telling you, it made me very happy, Malik, to hear you say you don't need to go to training camp and OTAs when you can do it on the beach, because we all know the Ezekiel Elliott video when he got his payday. So you're right. Go to the beach, go to Cabo, and Jerry Jones will pay you, and it'll all work out, right? We've seen that before.
Train on the fucking beach, Malik, clown. Train on the beach. Not do cocaine off white girls on the beach. There's a difference.
Fair enough. But kind of speaking of, Malik, a little bit of what you said with the Cowboys and the position that they're in, they need to have a big draft. I mean, the draft is where you really build your team. Again, the Eagles extending guys, Sean, like you just mentioned, Mailata, Dickerson, Devontae Smith. These are all guys that they help build through the draft. So I kind of want to start right there, Malik. I'll start with you with the Cowboys. I want to hear 3 things from you. I want to hear a player or a position that you would like to see the Cowboys draft, a player or position that you don't want the Cowboys taking under no circumstances, and who you think they inevitably will take in the first round.
So, okay, here's the thing. We lost some great guys, right? We lost a lot. We lost Smith at left tackle. We lost Van Der Esch, or I always fuck up his name, at linebacker, right? But we also brought in a new linebacker, right? We had the linebacker from the Chargers,
Eric Kendricks.
Eric Kendricks, yeah. We brought him in, right? That's an amazing move. That guy was looking to stay with the Chargers. He's a great linebacker, right? That's one that it was a quiet little.
That was the only good signing you had, or
The
pretty
only
much the only one you had.
That was the only one. That's what I'm saying.
The
That's
only
the
one,
only
yeah.
one. It was a great fucking move for us, right, on the defensive side. I'll start with what I don't want to. I don't want to see us do. I don't want to see us start drafting defensive linemen. I feel like that's a Cowboys thing to always do. We need to beef up the defense. We need to beef up the defense. Let's see these guys play defensive line. Don't go give me a quarterback. I want this corner. Let me be specific. Cornerback, defensive cornerback, right? I do not want to see us go draft the cornerback. We have Diggs coming back, and we have Bland. We have two top guys that are still there, and then you also have to figure out what are we gonna do. Damn, I'm so bad with names. What's the old head guy? The old dude that I think this is his last contract year as well. Not
Gilmore.
Gilmore. We still have Gilmore sitting there as well. Our defensive backs, I'm cool with. We brought our defensive back coach. Now he's an assistant head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Now I love that fucking move. That's a great move for our defensive side, right? What I definitely, more than me, I'm seeing dumbass Cowboys fan pages going crazy about our running backs. Go get a young kid. I need a young kid. The kid from Texas. Where is it at? I had
Johnny Brooks. He's a stud.
No. Jalen Wright from Tennessee, not from Texas as well, and also Jalen Wright from Tennessee. This is the perfect point where we're in the same position we were when we had Zeke. Go get a young guy, let him develop. And we'll talk about it later, our favorite draft picks. That's one of my favorite draft picks the Cowboys have ever had. That's why it was so upsetting seeing him leave. Now
he's still a free agent. You can get him.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's true.
Can I be delusional here? Can I be delusional and
of course,
and say no matter what, we have Dak and we have the other kid. Again, I'm awful with names. Who signed back? Trey Lance, right? Fuck that. I don't know why we signed him for another year contract, right? If Malik won the lottery, who do I want on my to draft as a quarterback? If you could say the Dallas Cowboys make one of the most historic draft, it's not going to happen, but this is my what if, what I need to happen. Give me Jordan Daniels. I want to see Jordan Daniels to be a Dallas Cowboys. I don't want to see. Go ahead, take Caleb, take Penix. This is the quarterback that I want to see on my team. That again, we'll talk about draft picks. Who do we think is going to mature and stuff like that? This is again just Malik just spitballing. If I could have it my way, if I could play $100 billion, guy in that room who I have an endless whatever it is, like I can just give out money. That's who I want to see developed as a Cowboy. But then they were stuck. We're in a position in which I don't know what the Cowboys are going to do. This is one of the teams that like you didn't do nothing in the offseason. You didn't do no free agencies. Like, what the fuck are we thinking? What is our front office thinking? I mean, every Eagles fan could say, you know what? These are the areas in which we need help. We do need more linebackers. I don't want to see Micah Parsons stand up anymore. Put him down. We know that now going forward. We need him down. We don't need him standing up anymore. But what the fuck do they want to do? Dan Quinn's gone. What like I have no clue what the Dallas Cowboys front office was doing once free agency started up and we just sat back and had our hands folded. It could come out as a surprise. We go out and we draft amazingly, or just be we're in a position in which let's just ruin these guys' careers for the next 2-3 years and just sell, and hope for a restart. Like that's where we're at right now. So I have no idea what to do with these guys. But if I were to go out, you got to replace. So I would say running back Jalen Wright from Tennessee. That was one of the picks that I kind of was like, all right, I wouldn't mind. Offensive guard from Duke as well. I don't know how to pronounce names either, but Graham Burton. Like again, you can do anything with offensive lineman. Just go get him. Like I don't care. Yeah. We have to figure out what to do with that missing leg. It's not a huge miss as well because he was hurt all the time. So we had a rookie left tackle come in. I think his name is Smith as well. He came in as well and did a great job. So let him get some maturity under his belt because he got tried a lot last year. And then at the end of the day, we are going to need linebackers. And there's another linebacker from Texas as well that's out there. So I feel like it's going to be a huge defensive heavy type of draft class for us. But at that linebacker, and then also we got to go get a running back because there's no way you're going to have Duke, fucking Vaughn, Deuce at starting running back. That young rookie, I'm very.
You hating on the short king?
I just know he's not every down back, right? He's not every down back. But then that rookie, I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see what he can do as well. Like again, he did the same things kind of Pollard did within his first year. Like he's not getting that many touches.
Oh yeah,
so he's just taking the fuck off, which is good when you're not an every down back. But there's no way you're telling me that's the duo. That can't be the duo. Bring in another kid or bring someone else in, like maybe has like 2 years, been in the league for 2 or 3 years, and let them run it. But we know
I
now
think they
that
signed Royce Freeman like pretty recently, like this week or something. Who's not that special or
There
anything,
you go.
but like
I don't
There
know
you
who the
go,
fuck
Malik.
that is. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't even know who he is. So I don't lie about those
Well, look,
things. So.
Malik, I really think who would fit in the Cowboys system really, really, really well. Blake Corum from Michigan. I know you're a big fan, so why not? That would be the cherry on top for you if this Cowboys offseason ended with them taking the Michigan running back.
You mean to tell me every running back we have on Dallas Cowboys team is shorter than me? Like, oh, let's go. Let's fucking win a bowl.
Yeah.
They're shorter than me. Like, no, fuck no, bro. Like, go get me something. It's just like the frustration. I'm so glad I haven't been locked into this right now. Like, I've been so focused on just life things that like now it's starting to like creep back into, we had Ohio State spring game. We had a lot like football is creeping back. But all it does is bring me anxiety and just anger thinking about the Cowboys and decisions that front office makes. Because at the end of the day, if let's just say you were like a fucking Lions fan or something, like it wouldn't matter to me. But the fact that I have to deal with a good Eagles team and a great front office, that's the difference. That's what pisses you off more than anything. That I have to deal with a dumbass Dallas Cowboys team and a dumbass Dallas Cowboys front office. It blows your fucking mind. That I have to see McCarthy call plays again. It'll just blow your mind. I can just keep going, but let's see what
I was going to say, here comes the rant. Well, look, Sean and I are in a completely different box than the Cowboys are. I think you have been nothing but frustration, literally from your quarterback not wanting him, but still getting paid, what 50, 60 this year. So you can't sign any free agents. Meanwhile, Howie Roseman signing literally everybody that's a free agent. That's noteworthy. So Sean, I guess I'll kick it to you. Kind of the same question. A player that you would like to see the Eagles draft, maybe one or a position that you don't really think is a big priority for them right now, and then eventually who they will take, because they did fill some holes in free agency, but there's still in a good amount there to fill.
Yeah, well, I feel like for the past 10 years or so, I've wanted the Eagles to invest in a linebacker, and it's just never going to happen. Yeah. Although this year in particular, there is a prospect that I think that they are potentially interested in Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Jeremiah Trotter Sr. was a Philadelphia Eagle linebacker for about a decade, so it would be awesome to have his son come here. He's a middle linebacker, and Nakobe Dean's been banged up and hasn't really played that much, and they really haven't had any real stability at linebacker since Jordan Hicks and D'Amico Ryans, who's a head coach now. So I'd love to see a linebacker or wide receiver also. A lot of people, and especially in mock drafts, have cornerback. I think that they're actually a little bit deeper in corner than most people think. But they definitely do need to get younger. And if they do go with a corner, I think that they'd go with one of these more versatile guys than a pure outside guy. I know that they've been linked to both the Alabama guys who are more the outside guys. But then a lot of mock drafts have Cooper DeJean from the Iowa, the pretty much one white cornerback I've seen come out since Jason Sehorn. And there's also a Max Melton, who's a cornerback from Rutgers, who I think the Eagles like. So I think any of those guys would be a fun home run. But I feel like most of the guys I mentioned are more of the day two guys, the second round. And the Eagles do have 2 second-round picks, so that'll be nice. But first round, they're probably going to take an offensive lineman that I've never heard of.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
Quarterbacks?
What's that?
You guys don't think you need quarterbacks, like some new ones, some fresh legs to come in with
some corners?
You still have Slay and you have Bradbury. No, you got rid of Bradbury, right? Or no, you still have Bradbury.
We still got
he's
Bradbury
here for now, but I think
But then
I think
we brought back CJ GJ, and then we also have Elijah Moore, who was suspended from the league, or not Elijah Moore, Elijah something.
Oh, Isaiah Rodgers.
Isaiah Rodgers. Yeah, sorry. From the Colts,
a white cornerback too.
Suspended. No, that's
no.
That's Ed Reed Blankenship.
Oh, he's a dog. I like him. Yeah. Okay. I hear you.
Well, so I think, first of all, I agree, Sean, with who you think they're going to take. They are going to take an offensive lineman that probably nobody's ever heard of, and Jeff Stoutland's going to turn him into an All-Pro in 3-4 years, and we're all going to love him.
Oh
That's just what they do. They build in
God.
trenches. I mean, look at his track record. It's just true. To be honest with you, though, the position specifically that I really don't want the Eagles to take in the first round, and I've seen a lot of it, is a right tackle to be Lane Johnson's replacement. I get that idea, and obviously we saw that with Cam Jurgens, right? We drafted him to be Kelsey's replacement. Kelsey stayed for, I think, 2 years. We shifted Jurgens to guard, but a couple of the tackles that I've seen, they're too big to play guard, and I really don't want – we talk about a team that is all in right now to win a Super Bowl. I don't want a first-round pick to be sitting on the bench for hopefully 2 to 3 years. Like, hopefully Lane Johnson's here. So I would get it. It sounds like something they would do, but it's really not what I want. I think the player that I want, and Sean, I'll disagree on the cornerback aspect, is I really love that kid, Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo. I think the dude reminds me a lot of the Witherspoon cornerback who came out of Illinois last year.
He's not going to be there for the Eagles pick.
Well, so
Eagles
you mentioned
to get him.
Yeah, and they have a couple of day 2 picks that either way, it seems like every year the Eagles never pick exactly where they are, whether they move back or forward. So it wouldn't surprise me if they tried to move up and make a big splash. I really think I heard something from Howie Roseman the other day when he was asked about the Hassan Reddick trade, because it was a little weird. And he kind of seemed defensive and gave an answer that led you to believe there was more to that trade. Now, whether there was the contract that Reddick did want that isn't out yet, or, hey, we're going to use this pick to move up in the first round this year, just wait and see. I don't know. But it's kind of a little bit of a pipe dream, Sean, because you're right that Mitchell's going to go well before the Eagles pick at in the 20s. So they're going to have to move up to get him, but I really would love to see it.
Hey.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mitchell's probably the best pure corner in this draft. Reminds me a lot of Witherspoon. I think that's what you were alluding to or saying something. And, I like Kool-Aid McKinstry a lot, too, on the outside from Alabama. Awesome name. But
I know.
but he's more of a pure outside guy and would be a great replacement for a guy like Bradbury or Slay, where DeJean's more of like a zone coverage guy and more of a pure athlete. But I don't know.
Now, do we think that our snub, do we think JJ goes out in the first round? JJ McCarthy.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll get to the quarterback question because we got some questions lined up for Sean, but that's a nice teaser. So I guess we can kind of jump right into it. But before we kind of get into the specific positions, right, because there's been a lot around the quarterbacks. Obviously, it's a deep wide receiver class and the couple of the cornerbacks that we already talked about. But do you guys have a hot take, something that may really shake things up? Sean, you mentioned Ayuk and T. Higgins being available for trade. Malik, do the Cowboys trade up for a quarterback? Do you have a hot take you think might happen on draft night that shakes the world?
I don't. Nothing for like. I just have a hater take that I think JJ turns into like a late, like he's there day 2 and day 3. Like I don't, but I'm scared that with that prediction that the NFL kind of is taking that. Who was the quarterback last year that sat
Will
there forever?
Levis.
Yeah. I think that they're not going to let that happen again, that someone's going to take him because they're like, that's just embarrassing for him to have to go through that. And he's a Michigan kid and his winning record is still there. No matter what, you can't take that from him. So I think that he's going to go somewhere he doesn't deserve to go. Like he's going to go really earlier than where I think he should be projected to go. But I don't see, I see it being hyped up that he's still sitting here when it could be day 2 for him. That's my only like hater prediction, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like all these smoke screens have been going around for the past like month, and it really seems like it's all around JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
Like Harbaugh's talking him up and all his Michigan guys, and then all these teams are talking about trading up or trading back to get their quarterback, and the quarterback that keeps getting swirled around is JJ McCarthy of all guys. I've seen the tape, and I'm not that impressed. I mean, he hasn't been asked to do all much. Yeah, exactly. Like he ran the ball 30 times in one game.
The turnaround handoff tape.
Like I get he may be a great leader and has won a lot and has like these certain intangibles, but at the same time, like I want to see it on the field and to me, if I'm an NFL GM, there's no way I'm taking a top 10 pick and using it on him. I think he's a late 20s to second round pick type guy. So I think you might be right. He might have that Will Levis treatment on draft night where, he's getting all these hypes and then you see that, he's lasting till day 2.
Facts. Yeah. What about you?
That's
Leo?
true. And that's a good comparison, Malik. I like that. But, you're right, Sean, because I feel like a lot of the talk has been circled around really everyone after Caleb Williams and more specifically JJ McCarthy. But this has been an argument between Malik and I, not an argument, a disagreement on how good Caleb Williams is. Now, I've been saying for the past, year and a half, 2 years, that prospect-wise, he's the best quarterback prospect we've seen in a while. He's in the class of Trevor Lawrence, Andrew Luck, and then who else? So, Sean, I want to get your take. How big of the gap is there between Caleb Williams and the rest of the quarterbacks? Is it a lot closer? Am I crazy for thinking he is this good of a prospect? Or is Malik crazy for thinking, no, he's really not that much better than all these other guys?
Yeah. I feel like I'm sort of caught in between, to be honest. I think at the very beginning of the year, I was more on the Caleb Williams hype train. And then sort of throughout the season, it fell off a little bit. And I think that Jaden Daniels isn't quite on that level, but he's just a notch. Like you said, with the Eagles wide receivers with 1A, 1B, I think that Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are that 1-2 punch as far as they both won Heismans. They're both electric. They can extend the play. Jaden Daniels is more of a playmaker, I think, and more of like a runner where Caleb Williams is always looking for that big play and has the bigger arm and accuracy. They're both incredible prospects. I think they're going to go 1-2. I don't see Washington going with anyone else. Drake May has been sort of in that top 3 conversation. I think he's a little bit of a tier lower just because he's got all the tools, but he's still really raw. But I'd love to hear what you guys think about Jaden Daniels. And I do think that Caleb Williams is that phenomenal prospect, like you said. I don't know if he's quite on the same level as Trevor Lawrence or Andrew Luck, but he's pretty much just below those guys. I'd still say that he's better than Bryce Young. I think he's more of a sure thing than CJ Stroud was coming out last year. So, I mean, dude, you didn't know about CJ Stroud last year.
It's hindsight.
We all thought that he was going to be good. But, I mean, I know Malik's a big Ohio State guy, so maybe he knew. But he's also calling out for Justin Fields. And we saw that he was worth what, like a third-round pick, essentially, a fourth-round pick?
Yeah, I it's funny. You just brought up a great point in my head of like, okay, put Jordan Daniels on that USC team. Do they go further with him than they do with what's the name of the team?
They don't go.
I say they do, with the composure that Jordan Daniels has and his ability to sit in that pocket and not look for that star play, not look for that long bomb. Let him actually get progression. That LSU team sucked this year, was god awful this year. And I would honestly say
they had some wide receiver talent.
He was running for his life every game. That's where he was fucking fucked up every game. Jordan Daniels was haul-assing every game. I mean, from the beginning, that first game of the season, we started seeing that, right? But I truly think that there was moments in which I watched Caleb Williams and I was like, fuck, man, he is so far beyond even college right now. He's ready for the NFL. Watching him go through his progressions and the long ball. Like, I don't like that I call it the Johnny Manziel effect. I don't like that running around looking for open guy. Feels up like that exciting play is good for me. Let me see you sit in the pocket, because that play is not in the NFL. That's not going to be there in the NFL ever. That play where you sit in the pocket, you go through your progressions and make a beam. I saw that out of him, and I was like, fuck. I would be sitting back and going like, oh my God, like he is that guy. He is that guy. But then I watch you lose to Utah twice. I watch you lose and at the end of the year, all those games, and your composure, you crying in the stands. That to me is that NFL caliber quarterback. That's, again, those things can be taught.
You don't like the nail polish?
That part I don't care about. The nail polish is cool with me, but it's the other shit, that the crying in the crowd, the not being able to win. It was just that winner's mentality that I needed him to show, of like USC losing. You don't lose 4 games as a star quarterback for your team, being a number 1 draft pick. You just don't see that. And like, that's where I was coming from. Does he have the ability? Fuck yes. Hell yes, he does. But at the end of the day, I still would take that guy because his head. It's just his head. That's the only thing I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
It's his head. That's it.
And I do agree with you a little bit with his head, but look, the age-old question is wins a quarterback stat, right? You can go back and forth. In this case, it's not. And I just put up USC's schedule last year, Malik. I'm just going to read you some of the teams that they played and some of the scores that defense led up. All right. So let's see.
100%.
Going down, they played Colorado. The defense led up 41. USC won that game. Number 11, Arizona. Defense led up 41. USC won that game. They led up 50 to Notre Dame. They led up 50 to Cal. They led up 34 to Utah. They led up 52 to Washington. They led up 40 to Oregon. So I can go on and on. The point is, all those games were close and only close because of Caleb Williams. The defense was trash. He really only had one, maybe Brendan Rice as a wide receiver to throw to, but he had Jordan Addison not this past year, but the year before. But other than that, just like Sean said, he didn't have Malik Neighbors to throw to. He didn't have Jaden Daniels is having 2 first-round receivers go. Caleb Williams is not. I mean, he had Jordan Addison go in the first. I'm telling you, Jaden Daniels probably doesn't win half the games that Caleb Williams won at USC this past year.
Hey, no matter what, this is foresight. We'll see what happens in the NFL. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, that's true. And this is actually
I've only been wrong once in that. Who was I wrong with? I've only been wrong once with a quarterback. I've only been wrong with Joey Ice. That's it. And I had to bow my hands to Joey Ice, bro. That's a bad white boy. That's the only guy I've had been wrong with.
And that's kind of my thing too. Like why I have a hesitation, because in the past I've never been a big fan of like guys that haven't been able to figure it out. It takes them a little bit longer, goes to another place to need it. Like Joe Burrow was that, so he changed my opinion. But Jane Daniels was the same thing. I mean, he was at Arizona State for 3 years and was not good. Went to LSU and it flipped the switch. And look, to be fair, Caleb, you're 19, 20, 21 years old. Like you're supposed to be getting better. So that takes a little bit, I've come off of that a bit, but
Caleb had to follow his daddy coach the entire fucking way to go make something of himself as well.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, look, that's fair too. That's totally fair too. But look, when we talk about, and this is actually a little bit of a transition now to our next position I wanted to ask you guys about, is the wide receiver class, right? And we talked about one of the names I just said that Jane Daniels was throwing to is Malik Neighbors. And there always seems like there's this one guy that has a freak showing at a combine or his pro day. And I feel like that was Malik Neighbors with his 40 time and just some of the things that he was doing. Marvin Harrison Jr. has not needed to necessarily kind of compete in all of these combine pro days, what have you. So I'm curious, Malik, I know your answer. So this you're going to maybe try to kick off the podcast. But Sean, I want to know, because I do think it's a legitimate question. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. the clear-cut number 1 receiver in the class?
Yes.
Let's go.
I think when it comes to the wide receivers, it's Marvin Harrison, and then there's sort of a lower tier of Rome Odunze and Malik Neighbors in that second tier, and then Brian Thomas, and then there's like a free range of about 10 guys. Pick your poison. But I think Marvin Harrison is one of the best wide receiver prospects we've seen in a generation. The best guy I've seen at least since Jamar Chase, and then since that, I can't think of another wide receiver that went top 5 that I like more. He reminds me a lot of like AJ Brown, or not AJ Brown, AJ Green from the Bengals. I mean, he's just as good as his dad, it seems like, if not better. As far as Marvin Harrison, like his dad was a Hall of Famer, and he's got bigger size. He's just as fast. He's not necessarily elite at anything in particular, other than maybe like contested catch and spectacular catch. Yeah. But he does everything to just such an above average level that he's already, I think, a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL.
I would cop his jersey
without even playing one game,
unless he goes to the Birds. Or anyone in the NFC. I would cop his jersey. Like that's a dude I love. But what about a surprise? I truly think, and just from watching him, Bowers or from Georgia, the way the league is, the way the league is set up right now, I think this dude comes right out, and year 1 or year 2 is one of the top tight ends. That I think he has the ability to be one of the greatest. Like he has that size, that speed, that like he's gonna cause havoc. Whoever picks him up at that tight end position, he's gonna be one of those guys that we start watching like a Travis Kelce. Like he's gonna be in that conversation one day for sure. So I say whoever gets him, like I see him going to a system in which they use the fuck out of him, and I would love to see him on the Cowboys. But hey, we got Fergie, baby. We definitely have Fergie. So.
Well,
Yeah, I'd
that's an
say he's actually
interesting.
an above average. I was gonna say
No, go
I
ahead,
think
Sean.
he's an above average blocker for a tight
Yeah.
end coming out, which is pretty surprising. But I've heard some ties that the Jets are actually really interested in him, and some people were bashing him about his athleticism. And then I think like 2 days ago he posted on Twitter that like he did like a backflip. So he seems like he's doing all right.
He was hurdling guys in the fuck.
Yeah,
Like he damn near won every game for them. He was there. Like, was he like one of the leading wide receiver? Like he was catching everything. Like and having bombs. I don't know, like 10 and outs. Like I mean, running routes to get open. So yeah, he's gonna be a dog next level for sure.
Yeah,
his freshman year at Georgia was incredible.
Yeah.
It was. And Malik, I think you brought up the big point. And a lot of this, especially for quarterbacks, it's not where you go, it's who you go to. I've seen a lot of things about, remember Kyle Pitts, how big of a prospect he was at the tight end position, and the Falcons just don't utilize him well enough. So if a team does pick Brock Bowers up and utilizes him well, I agree with you. I think he's a top tier tight end, just like Marvin Harrison Jr. is a top tier receiver right as soon as he gets into the league. But Sean, look, I know you studied the wide receiver position a lot in this draft. So I'm curious, other than some of the guys that we've mentioned that are seemingly going early first round, maybe mid first round, who's a guy you think will go later in the first or even day 2, day 3 that you like a lot that maybe we're not talking enough about?
Yeah. I think you told me to do some homework and talk about some of my favorite prospects. And one of my favorite prospects this year in particular is a wide receiver from South Carolina, Xavier Legette. He's a relatively bigger guy. He's gotten like some pro comparisons to Debo. I don't know if he's quite that big or that good, but I think it's just because he played at USC. But he's got this like country boy, like legit Randy Moss voice. But he just bodies guys and takes it to the house. So he's definitely one of the more intriguing guys that I like. A lot of conversation has also been about Keon Coleman, the kid from FSU, who's also a pretty big body guy. Some people have made.
I'm sorry, the kid from Xavier. He's the
Xavier.
That's the one that's been trending with like he was like talking so country.
Yeah, he really sounds like, "Hi, I'm over here. Like, pass me the ball."
Yeah, he's like, he's like that's country as country gets, bro. That's like farm boy side. Yeah, you're right. Oh, so he's going in the draft this year?
Yeah, he's probably going to be a second-round pick.
I'm gonna keep an eye on him. Yeah.
And there's also this really explosive wide receiver or actually, I want to talk about two explosive wide receivers. Troy Franklin from Oregon. It seems like if you watch his highlight tape, every time he catches the ball, he's just in the end zone. Yeah. He looks like he's 5 yards ahead of everyone. He's literally just a clear burner. And speaking of another burner, Xavier Worthy from Texas ran the fastest 40 in combine history with a 4.2. And it looks like he was like a fringe first-round pick. And with that 40 time, I think he's very much going to be a first-round pick. Teams love speed. You see it every year with a guy like Austin Ruggs, and they don't, but it seems the NFL teams still covet that.
They never not get drafted. They always get drafted at least. Like they're like, just in case, we'll take him. He could do something for us. Fuck, we'll have 3 plays for him to do something during the year. Like, that's a good point. Man, you bring up some good wide receivers that to look out for.
Yeah. Well, I guess Malik, in terms of a wide receiver, do you think the Cowboys are going to go after one in that first round? Because is Brandon Cook still there? He's getting up in age. You got to pay CD, and then Gallup left.
I think Gallup
is that a position
left,
you think
right?
Gallup just left? Yeah. So I mean, Cook's no matter what is your he's going to be the dog, right? CD Lamb is a pretty boy who won't go across the middle. Let's just be honest. Cook's
not in a contract year.
Yeah, facts. Cook's is going to go across the middle, catch the ball, get us a first down. Yeah, why not? I mean, let's bring in some young blood and see where it goes. I mean, you could bring. I feel like if there's any position into where you can get free agents, guys who are undrafted, you could bring in. Let's see what they do in camp. It's the wide receiver position. You'll have a star come out of nowhere. I mean, you've seen that with. I don't know if he was drafted, but like I always go back to Damian Amendola because he fucked us over by the Cowboys being stupid, not even signing him to practice squad, and then him going to the Patriots.
Eagles messed it up too.
So like, oh really?
Yep.
That's funny. I
Yeah.
didn't even know that. It sounds like both of us to do, right? It sounds like some ego shit.
Yeah,
Now I'm
exactly.
putting you guys. It sounds like some ego shit to do. But yeah, like you could always go out and just find a guy. So I hope that, you know, later in the draft, like, I mean, how many rounds is it in the draft?
7.
You can find a fucking guy anywhere, and a wide receiver guy to just draft there. You know, it's crazy. I actually was just talking to somebody about the NBA draft. I never knew that there was only 2 rounds of the NBA. I'm thinking that there's like 7 rounds at the NFL, but like, bro, it's only a certain amount of positions.
Only 60 guys get drafted each
year.
year.
I was like, oh shit, I didn't even think about drafting only 2 rounds. So yeah, I mean, you could pick up anyone, right? Or free agent, pick up anybody, an undrafted guy. So I definitely say we definitely need some more weapons at that wide receiver position, for sure. There was some young kid. Oh my god, I forget who he was. That started making plays for the Cowboys as well later on this season. I'm totally blanking on his name, but we do have some depth. But definitely, it's different. We go Gallup, Cooks, CD. That's a different type of you know, wide receiver room where you go just CD and let's be honest, CD going from a year of dropping everything to a year of having a great year to let's see what he does now. We all know when you make your money, what do you look like the next year? So we have to worry about that as well.
That's true. That's true. Well, look, I love it. And look, I wanted to kind of, I guess, end the draft talk, or maybe not end it, but an interesting question that I heard, because I know we talk a lot about the cornerbacks too. We touched on them, but you know, we saw a team like the Texans last year. If you remember, before that draft last year, they were a mess. I mean, they were a 2-win football team. They just got a new head coach, and now they're like a top 4 betting favorite to win the Super Bowl. So
really?
Wanted to ask you guys, who do you think is the team that can completely change the trajectory of their franchise right now through this draft? Sean, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think an obvious one that sort of comes to my mind is the Chargers. With Harbaugh, the new coach, and they're definitely going to have a new offensive identity. You know, they lost Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I have a feeling that Harbaugh is going to go after one of his Michigan guys, whether it's Roman Wilson or Blake Corum. Yeah, I feel like he's just going to get one of those guys to get in his offense. But you know, if they get Neighbors or Marvin Harrison with the 5th overall pick, you know, that could really change things and really solidify them as having that go-to receiver for Herbert for the next couple of years, because you know, I think that they don't have so much flexibility with the cap right now. So, you know, if they could go from worst to first, that'd be pretty incredible. And then another team that sort of comes to my mind is the Falcons. You know, I think that they did an awesome job in free agency, bringing Kirk Cousins and a couple wide receivers. So I'm not exactly sure what their draft situation is as far as, you know, capital and position. But I think that they're in a good position to pretty much go from not necessarily worst, but have a meteoric rise and be a playoff team next year.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think the easy pick, of course, everyone's gonna say is the Texans, right? Like they're all in. They're doing well right now. Something I'm keeping my eye on, and everyone knows I had the bet last year. This is before A-Rod went down. That I said I think that the Jets wouldn't win more than 7 games. I think with possibly A-Rod coming back, some defensive help that they picked up. I mean, I remember them picking up some guys during free agency. I don't know exactly what they did, but I think the Jets is a team that's definitely someone you want to watch this year. Like this is a team that is may
can only go up.
Yeah, I mean, you can only go up from here. But this is a team who has definitely, like, I got lucky with A-Rod going down because they would have been a team that had definitely 8 or plus more wins, right? But I think they're making some right moves right now to be locked back in. Of like they lost games because of that QB position, as well as like slightly like that defensive backs giving up as well. So I think they're like a couple players away from being a great team. Of course, I'll let you go, Liam. I have one more thing to ask Sean.
Yeah, I think for me, the team that can go from kind of that worst to first, that Texans to where they are now, is the Cardinals. They sit right now at the 4th overall pick, and they also have the Texans pick at number. Oh well, yeah, so do we because of fuck Gannon. But they have number 27. And the Cardinals could go one of 2 ways here. Either they're getting Marvin Harrison Jr., who we just talked about. He's the best wide receiver clearly in this draft. Or a team is going to give them the house to trade up at 4, which we all disagree with, but to get J.J. McCarthy. I could realistically see the Vikings trying to move up. I can kind of see the Giants willing to move up for J.J. McCarthy. But let's just say they keep the number 4 overall pick. Kyler Murray came back and made a splash last year. He said, "This is my job." And I think he reminded a lot of people that he can be one of the top 12, maybe higher quarterbacks in this league. Pair him up with Marvin Harrison Jr., and then whoever they're willing to get at 27, maybe they move up. They have the capital. I think they have the most draft picks in this year's draft. Say they move up in the top 20 again, like the Texans did last year. Remember, they got CJ Stroud, but then traded up to get Will Anderson. I can see the Cardinals trying to make that move too. Get your wide receiver, maybe trade up for one of these cornerbacks or help Gannon on the defensive side. So I think the Cardinals are one of those teams to look out for because, look, I don't have confidence in the Seahawks. The Rams are an interesting team, and I really do think the Niners take a step back after last year. So watch out for
you say that. What about Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh, yeah. I mean, I don't think they are necessarily looked at though as kind of like a dumpster fire. I think they've been around. I expect Justin Fields to be the quarterback by week 9.
Yeah. Okay.
10 maybe. And I really think, look out, and this could be all smoke screens too, but I think right now they're the favorites. If Ayuk were to be traded, the Steelers are the favorites to get him.
Okay. Before we get out of here, I had one question for Sean. What are your feelings to picking up our pieces and having a new offensive coordinator? It's Kellen Moore, right? Yeah. How are you feeling with that move of having Kellen Moore now?
Yeah, I think I've heard you tease about this in like previous pods or so.
Yeah.
I know that you're not such a huge fan of him.
No.
I think that he'll at least add a new perspective to the Eagles and hopefully get these guys going and unlock more than just the 2 guys on the outside and really get Saquon involved in the pass game. But I think that's sort of where I'm alluding to, where you're a little worried, where I think you were saying in a previous pod how with Dak, like it really forced him to throw deep too often and maybe forced some interceptions. And then you got lackadaisical in the play call and had to do a lot of like little bubble screens and stuff. So, do you think that that's going to happen with the Eagles or?
No, of course not. Of course, that's not how it works for us, right? He finally becomes a fucking genius once he leaves the Cowboys, right? And you don't know what that is, right? Because from what Liam told me, that fucking bitch ass Sirianni was told he has to have hands off. That let Kellen Moore do what he has to do. So that may be a reason why we got what we got with Kellen Moore, with us, with fucking fat ass McCarthy wanting to be too much involved in the play calling. Because then what do you see next year? He becomes the play calling for it, right? So like that had to have been a factor as well. So mind you, I think he had his genius spurts where I was like, fuck yeah, like this is the play call we need. We just drive down the field like it's nothing. But then it would be turned around, you're like, if I see another fucking bubble screen or a deep pass or like something you'll never have to deal with again, and we needed him more than ever this year was being able to score within the 10-yard or what is it, 15-yard zone, like of the end zone. His play calling in that realm is amazing, is immaculate, and that's why we suffered this much this year of not being able to score in the red zone. That's what it's called, red zone. Not being able to score in the red zone. His red zone play calling is perfect, is amazing. We never had an issue beforehand, so that's something that I would say. Like, I don't know if you guys struggle with it that much, but it definitely can get the job done. No, you guys didn't struggle with it. You just fucking.
Oh, we did struggle. We struggled big time last year.
Yeah, Brian Johnson last year, the offensive coordinator, it felt like he was only calling about 5 different plays for a majority of the season, and it literally had us frustrated. So, like, even if he's like just getting down to these basic offenses, I think that it's still going to be a huge upgrade, and I think that he has that creativity and like you alluded earlier, Sirianni is more of that manager of the coaches. Or at least with this second time around, where he's going to be sort of just managing the actual coaches, and the coaches are going to be leading the men. So having Vic Fangio on defense is going to be a big step up, and having Kellen Moore, who both have that head coaching experience, can really go a long way. So hopefully they all do better this second time around. And I think he's familiar with the NFC East already.
Yeah. See him in the Eagles coaching uniform, so ugly, bro. Oh my god, I can't wait to see you guys this year again.
I love it. Well, look, neither can we. And before we get out of here, we have our Trust the Rank segment that we started last week. So asked you guys to do some homework. I got my 3, but Sean, I'll kick it to you. your top three, rank your top three overall favorite players in the draft. Not necessarily who you think will be the best, but who your favorite players are.
Yeah. Well, my favorite player and the best player, I think, in this draft is Marvin Harrison Jr. I can't say enough good things about him. I think he's incredible. Jeremiah Trotter, which I alluded to earlier, I'm a big fan of him and his dad. Hopefully, the Clemson linebacker can be playing in Philadelphia just like his daddy-o. And I've been really intrigued lately by Max Melton. I think I was talking a little bit about him, the Rutgers corner. Real versatile, returns the ball. His brother is Bo Melton, who is a wide receiver for the Packers. So he's got some of that NFL blood in him. And, just tying it back to the very beginning, I know Malik was talking about some of the running backs for the Cowboys. And, I think that this isn't necessarily the best running back draft, but I could see them taking Trey Benson or Johnny Brooks, who are probably the consensus two best running backs in this draft. Whether that's in like the second or third, fourth round, I have no idea. But
Malik, what say you?
There's only one answer for me, and that's Marvin Harrison Jr. That's all I'm going to be watching for. I could care less about the draft. I'm not a big draft guy. I'm not one of those guys that watches the entire draft, like see who goes here, what happens. I think the only time I've ever watched a draft long was when my boy got drafted, Calvin. Like that's the only time I ever watched the cared for the draft. But it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. And then I'm interested in seeing. We didn't talk about him really. Where Penix goes and then where Jordan Daniels goes. I'm very excited to see where Penix ends up because I think that guy as well is a guy I don't want to see him start right away. I do not want to see Penix start right away. I want to see him develop. I want to see him get behind a starter and like let's see him fucking shine, man. I'm tired of throwing these guys into the wind and like what Fields had to go through. Like I love Fields getting pushed back. Get behind him and learn some things. And I don't think that's going to happen for either of those quarterbacks, but I'm excited to see where they end up.
Well, yeah. I mean, actually, I had Penix on one of my top three only because Malik, I do think he's ready to go right in. I think that's what kind of gives him the edge over some of these guys. Is he's the adult in the room.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious to see because again, like we talked about with quarterbacks, sometimes really talented guys go to really badly run organizations and it fucks their entire careers up. I've heard a lot about the Dolphins maybe taking him if they don't want to pay Tua. You can kind of slide him right in. Like if he goes there, I think he's really going to be successful. But I enjoyed watching this past year, so I'm excited to see where he goes. I talked about Quinyon Mitchell, so I'll just go another one. Chop Robinson, the DN from Penn State. I just think the dude's a freak athlete. Yeah. I think he's one of those guys that can really develop. I mean, we know those Penn State pass rushers, future Eagle Micah Parsons has turned out pretty well. So we'll see what Chop Robinson can be. And Malik, close your ears for this one. You're not going to like it. Mike Sainristil from Michigan. Whenever I watch Michigan play, the dude was around the ball. He was everywhere. I mean, literally on every defensive play, number 0 was around somewhere. So I don't think he's going to be a first-round guy. He's a little bit undersized, I think, is what's going against him. But, fuck, man, as an Eagles fan, I want this dude bad. And I really think that he's just a football player. He's the type of dude that's going to work his ass off. He's going to be around the ball. You know, we brought up Reed Blankenship. Malik, you said he's a dog. Like, I think that's what you're going to get from Mike Sainristil. I think he's just around.
Yeah. Who are your favorite draft picks of all time? Like, I can definitely say, for me, my favorite draft pick of all time, because it solidified who I like. When I fell in love with watching college football to then in the NFL was Zeke. Like I went crazy rooting for him to beat Alabama against my dad. Like, and I always been a Ohio State fan, but it was like, no, this is my team for sure. Watching them beat Bama and then watch him get drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. Even as a football player, like me going out for coin tosses and having my shirt rolled up and refs telling me like, you have to roll your shirt down, and me arguing like, nah, this is my swag, let me go. And I didn't have it to where it was just like the shirt tucked. It was pure belly hanging out at the coin toss because of that guy, because of Zeke. So that to me was like my favorite draft of all time. Be like, holy fuck, I can't believe my favorite player, my favorite team got to my favorite NFL team as well. So that for me was like the greatest draft ever. And I think we moved up or did something in the draft to go get him, or it wasn't just like I think we did something. I forget what it was.
Yeah, I mean, the same question for me. I think Devontae Smith is maybe one of my favorite draft moments for the Eagles in particular. They traded with the Cowboys to move up ahead of the Giants. he didn't want to go to the Giants. It was the first time the Eagles have drafted a Heisman guy in my lifetime, it seems like. And a guy from Alabama who is a proven commodity, and the Eagles have done significantly better the past few years since then. But before that, they were taking guys like Marcus Smith from Louisville, and what has that guy done? And Jalen Reagor, I don't know. So.
What's the most famous that video of the guy who was like on the news for catching babies, and he was like, unlike Aguilar, you guys had the wide receivers who blew it, and then seeing a wide receiver from Bama who won the national championship with Tua a couple years before, and it's like, fuck, man. And we gave it to you guys. I was like, we just gave them a fucking star, bro. Like, oh, fucking Cowboys. Go ahead, Liam.
Well, first of all, that was a Eagles Cowboys shake hands. We both fucked the Giants over because look, you got Micah Parsons out of it, so not a bad prize for yourself.
Consolation.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, and there's a lot of different ways I can go, but I'm going to go with Lane Johnson. And I think for me, this was really the draft that I remember as like being younger. Like as a kid, I didn't really care. I was like, Eagles, go get a receiver. Eagles, go get a running back. Like, give me someone exciting that I can like play with on Madden, right?
Yeah.
But this was the first draft where I was like, no, we're getting a tackle. I like it. The dude seems like a freak. And now, like looking at this draft, that draft was fucking shit. And Lane Johnson's one of the best tackles I think the game has ever seen. So I think for me, Lane Johnson.
That's funny. That
was also Chip Kelly's first year. And I remember there was a lot of hype about going after Deion Jordan, who was the Oregon kid, the pass rusher. And his career really fizzled out. So it's pretty amazing to see that, we got a generational talent with Lane Johnson there.
That's definitely so funny that you actually bring. I was thinking, I'm like, why would he say an offensive lineman? But it's funny when we got Zach Martin. I only knew him from a documentary that Notre Dame had, like where they were following them throughout the year, and they just kept talking about how good he is and how smart he is. So when we got him, I was like, oh fuck! I remember watching, like, he was just all over documentary. I was like, why is a lineman all over documentary? But when we got him, I knew of him and was like, all right, I can't wait to see who be. And then fast forward to see he's like one of the top fucking linemen of all time as well. So, yeah, you're right. I get what you're saying. So, but did you know of him like beforehand, or was just like the hyped up about him? Like,
I
know where he went to college.
Oklahoma. And I knew about him. And again, it was one of those things where I vividly remember watching it, being aware of him. I think 2 tackles went right before him, and like just watching those,
and Fisher.
Yeah, and Fisher, right. And I just remember watching, like the minute clip they do when a player gets drafted. And I was like, wait, this dude's that big and he moves like that? Like, this is fucking awesome. So, man. And again, he hasn't disappointed. I mean, he's going to go down as one of the greatest Eagles ever.
Facts. I hear you.
I was listening to Joe Alt I think today, and he was talking about like how he watches Lane Johnson, and he's saying how like I just can't do stuff like that, and that's the best offensive lineman in this year's draft. So like, to pretty much like have that such high praise for Lane Johnson is pretty incredible. And Joe Alt's he's a pretty incredible prospect. Probably going to be a top 10, top 5 pick.
Yeah, for sure. Hey guys, I appreciate any last words. Anything you want to leave on the table?
No, go Sixers.
When exactly is a draft?
Starts next Thursday. I think 7:00 or something, 7:30. I think Big Sean might be doing like a pre-draft concert or something.
Okay. I'm not mad at it. Hey, also, before we go, I want to give a shout out to my boy Calvin, kicking things off in the UFL. Like, dude, that's huge. Making some moves with DC. So continue to push. Definitely look out for a podcast coming with him. I'm gonna hold him to it that we're gonna record one of these days and go see him play. But hey guys, appreciate you guys all being here. Make sure you go follow us on Instagram at WeTrust_podcast. Go listen to us on YouTube. You can watch it live. Please go listen on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music as well. Follow Liam on the Instagram at
Liam Stokes 11.
And follow Sean on the Instagram. Thank you again, Sean, for coming on. And follow him on Instagram at
Shawnee Football. Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course. Hey, guys, please go follow Sean. He will give you all the news, everything up to date. He is the guy. As soon as something drops, he's on it. So please go support him as well. Continue support and trust up, guys.
Hell yeah. Thanks, guys.